Next up, we are featuring a team from Lompoc Unified School District. Brian Jaramillo is the Assistant Superintendent of Education Services. Shannon Cottom is the Program Specialist of Social Emotional Learning. And Cesar Arroyo, the Program Manager, Family and Youth Services with Communify. Did I get it right? Awesome. All right, welcome to the stage, guys. Take it away. You got a clicker right there. How are you?
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having us today. My name is Brian Jaramillo. I am the Assistant Superintendent from Lompoc Unified School District. I'm here today with Shannon Cottom, who's a Program Specialist of Social and Emotional Learning in our district, and Cesar Arroyo, who's a Program Manager of Family and Youth Services with Communify. So we are going to talk about social emotional learning. We'll just jump right in. So first of all, a little bit about why we have focused on social emotional learning. I know that it's a topic all around, and others have, just like the last presentation, delved into this topic as well. So a couple of pieces of data for you. 23% is the percentage of sixth grade students in Lompoc Unified School District that reported on the California Healthy Kids Survey that they feel sad most or all of the time. So about a quarter, a pretty significant amount. 30% are the LUSD, and I'm not advancing the slides so you can't see anything, huh? Sorry about that. So that's the 23%, and that's the 30%. So 30% of our students in 7th grade report chronic sadness on the California Healthy Kids Survey. And the last piece of data is that 9th grade students, 37% report chronic sadness. And so there's two pieces of this data that I think are significant. One is just the raw numbers, all three of them over a quarter. The other one is the increase, right, as we go from elementary to middle to high school. And so that means as a system, we are not doing enough to help our students as they progress through our system to work through those emotions and to deal with those things. And so, we could go through a lot of data, but that's the basics and the basic argument behind social emotional learning is that we have those needs throughout our school district, in our schools, that we need to address. And so we started 2 years ago with some of the COVID funds. Our district decided to place an additional counselor at each of our school sites that we consider a social emotional counselor dedicated specifically to the social emotional needs of students. And so throughout that process, we have developed a social emotional plan. We started by really looking at the CASEL 5 SEL competencies. We won't mention a lot about that today, but those are the orange, the yellow, and the green in there. And so it's about self-awareness and self-management. It's about social awareness and relationship skills, and then responsible decision making. And so we've really based our entire program on those standards, on those tenets, in making sure that we provide professional development around these and conversations, and that the services directly respond to the needs of students in these areas. And so we have a tiered process for social emotional learning, just like we have a tiered process in PBIS, and we have tiers of engagement and intervention for academics. And so we'll hear about the 3 different tiers, a little snapshot of the 3 different tiers today. But I wanted to mention that one of the places that we really started to dig in a little deeper this year is to make sure that we started with the SEL for adults. And so we did that even from the beginning of the school year when we had our administrative retreat. We had Dr. Victor Rios come back to our district from UCSB and work with our administrators on making sure we build those connections and community amongst our administrative team and challenge them to go back to their school sites and do the same. And so I can remember in our administrative retreat, we had an activity where you had to, the administrators had to line themselves up in a certain way without talking to each other. And it was a little bit of a mess, as you can imagine, with a lot of kind of administrators who are very A-type personalities trying to take charge without saying anything. But we did the activity, we built some community, learned in different ways how to communicate to each other, and I think that's symbolic of what we're trying to do in our district. All right, I'm going to pass it on to Shannon Cottom to start talking about Tier 1 in our district.
I'm Shannon Cottom. I'm the program specialist at Lompoc Unified, and I spend my days supporting social emotional learning in our classrooms for our students and across our district. And I often hear teachers say, and as a previous teacher myself, when it comes to SEL, my plate is full. I've got so many things that I need to attend to. There's learning gaps, there's new programs, this, that, and the other. And my mantra to them is that SEL is the plate that all these things are sitting on. And as we've heard from others here, much of our academic success rests in meeting those social emotional needs of our students. And so working through our Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 systems, we are actively engaged in supporting those social and emotional needs of our students. So starting first with Tier 1, this is where 80% of our students live. It's where we are trying to promote those 5 CASEL competencies in a very specific way to build student capacity so that they are developing those skills for success now and also later on in life. And so we have some classroom specific approaches, and then we have some that are across the school site. In terms of classroom, we are supporting those teachers with second step and making sure that we have a curriculum that the teachers feel comfortable with so that students are getting those social and emotional lessons each week. And then our SEL counselor comes in to do push-in lessons in response to student needs. They're also supporting classrooms with restorative conversations, and then just taking a closer look at that classroom environment, adding calm down corners, talking to teachers about reteaching and how to give them new strategies for supporting those student behaviors. And then across the school site, we started this year with SEL screeners using Suite 360 and Kelvin, and then drawing from that data to get more information about how we can better support our student mental health. And so looking for patterns where we can do some reteaching and then identifying students who we can possibly move to Tier 2 for more intense support. And then in a fun way, we also incorporate theme weeks. So this is elementary and middle and high. We are all unified in the theme weeks that we do throughout the school year. So in September, Suicide Awareness Month, we wanted an age-appropriate conversation with suicide awareness at our elementary school. And so the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation has an initiative called Start with Hello. And Start with Hello is that conversation that addresses belongingness and inclusion at the elementary level. And we know that risk factors to suicide are that lack of belonging and that lack of inclusiveness. And so if we can start that conversation at the elementary level and then continue to build on that, some of these statistics that Brian shared a minute ago, we hope that we're closing the gap on that by starting sooner than later with these conversations. And so speaking to Start with Hello, some examples here of some of the activities we did, a school-wide pledge where students commit to looking out for others who are alone. And many of our schools have buddy benches where students who need that friend to play with will go and sit on the bench. And so creating that awareness and students looking for students who need a friend, self-portraits outside of the classroom. So with names, so as students walk by, they're seeing portraits of themselves and others. And then fun things like mix and mingle, mix it up, find a new friend. And then other activities, Start with hello. We did a photo booth where you get a friend and make the H in hello. So those are some of our elementary efforts. And then, of course, when we get to middle school and high school, we're looking at more specific conversations, giving resources for help, helping students to identify those warning and risk factors that they might be seeing in themselves and others. And data always supports whether or not we're meeting our goal or not. And so one of the first questions was, I can name 3 signs of suicide. And in this instance, it's about 50-50 before we start, a little bit more than that. But the post data is where the victory is. And we see that after our week-long suicide awareness activities and information, we've closed that gap to almost 100%, which is amazing. And so then how are we doing that? So with some of the activities that we had this year, we had a parent night. So it's important that we get our parents involved and that our parents understand what those warning signs are and where they can go for help and what resources are available to them. And so getting our parents involved, then of course a pledge by these students as well, a commitment that they are going to get help if they need it themselves, and if they see a friend who needs help, that they're going to intervene in that way as well. And in the middle there, you see a poster, and when you're lost in the darkness, when you look for the light, and then it gives the 988 phone number. At the high school, they had a poster making contests for suicide awareness. This is the poster that won, and so this poster will be duplicated and posted around the school this year. So just some of the things that they're doing at the high school, middle school, and high school. And then again, just reflecting on data. I can name 2 resources for help if struggling with thoughts of suicide. So in this instance, the data showed that about 2/3 had an idea of where they could go for help. But again, seeing the after effects of the Suicide Awareness Week and that closing to almost 95% or a little more, definitely demonstrates that our efforts are paying off, and we are getting information out to our students that they're taking a hold of and holding on to in the instance that they were to need some help, they would know where to go. So those are our Tier 1 efforts. We're strengthening that plate with each one of these activities that we're doing, and then carrying it a step further with Step 2, or Tier 2. And with our Tier 2, we're focusing on those students who need a little bit more support. And so this is where we see small groups and some one-on-one. We have a menu of services here that we provide, but it all starts with our referral services system. And I'm really proud of this process that we have established at Lompoc Unified. It's a very equitable system that allows for different points of contact for students who need help, whether that's administrators, teachers, parents, or self-referral. We get that information back, and then the SEL counselor sits down and determines, after talking with the student, what the best course of action is. And from that, an SEL plan is developed, again, working off the 5 CASEL competencies, which is the framework that all of our counseling practice works off of. And then once that plan is developed, we work on goals and then also monitor progress. And so from this menu, typically academies are where we spend a lot of that Tier 2 time as counselors. And one of the academies that I just wanted to feature is our Window Between Worlds Academy. It is an academy geared toward helping students who have experienced trauma and empowering them as a result of this trauma-informed curriculum. It is a program that requires training, and so all of our counselors have gone to a Window Between Worlds training so that they can bring this back to their school sites and use this very effective art-based curriculum to help support our students of trauma. And one thing that I have come to recognize myself as a longtime counselor is that students of trauma a lot of times have trouble putting words to those feelings, and those feelings need to be processed. And if we can't put words to them, then we need to allow a creative outlet for those feelings to be processed. And Window Between Worlds is a powerful tool for our students of trauma to process those feelings. And so I'm just grateful to our district and for the funding that allowed for that training for our counselors, because it is one of our academies that has been the most effective in meeting those mental health needs of our students. And I'm going to turn it over to Caesar to talk a little bit more about a Communify program that is similarly based in art.
Thank you, Shannon. So yes, definitely. She naturally is gender specific for the mujercitas, the young women. And in this slide, what you're seeing is one of the activities that is part of Chinachli. Now, Chinachli is a comprehensive healing and culturally based curriculum. Now, every student that takes part in Chinachli and completes the program are taking the initiatives to the rites of passage to womanhood, and that's what we're looking for. That is specific completion. Yeah. Turn it back to Shannon.
So then tier 3, tier 1 is school-wide, tier 2 is closing that a little more to small groups, and then tier 3 is our individualized tier of support. And so again, we have a menu of resources that we provide to our students, but really tier 3 is not just students, but it's also families. And so we are reaching out to our community partners to help support us in providing resources to our families. So we have school-based therapy, which for Lompoc Unified is Family Services Agency. Each of our school sites has a therapist that comes in once a week, sometimes twice, to provide services to our students. And then, of course, out-of-school therapy, family case management. Each of our school sites has a social worker. And that social worker works with our school teams to go to the homes and, again, determine how we can best support that family with parenting classes or other agency resources to help those families who are in need, and as a result, support the students in their mental health. Caesar?
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. So I do want to add that Communified, formerly known as Community Action Commission, we've been implementing Los Compadres and Las Comadres program since 1996. Over the time, we have had multiple contracts, and we are excited to be partnering up with Lompoc Unified School District. Now, within this partnership, we are implementing both El Joven Noble and Girasol. But before I go into that, I want to let you know that every student that is being referred to Los Compadres and Las Comadres, they're receiving the full services, which is either Joven Noble, Chinachli, I'm sorry, not Chinachli, Girasol, mentoring, and case management. Now, I'm going to share a little bit about what Joven Noble and Girasol is. And both curriculums are gender specific. El Joven Noble is specifically for the young men, although I have had young women be part of the círculos, and it's amazing to be able to see the balance, to be able to see their point of view to some of the questions. It's beautiful. It's great. So Girasol is also, like I said, is gender specific and it's specifically for young women. Now, Girasol and Chinachli is the same curriculum. The name is just different. Just different organizations that are, training or providing the training. So both Joven Noble and Girasol are also a comprehensive healing, culturally based curriculum. Every participant that goes into either or curriculum, they're working on leadership development. Yeah. So everyone that completes also the curriculum, we're looking at taking the initiative initiative to the rites of passage to becoming a young man or a young woman, which is, womanhood or manhood. Now, the curriculum focuses on the framework of cultura cura. which is the culture will heal, right? And the framework consists in that everyone, the youth, need family, they need community, but they also need cultural values and beliefs to be able to accomplish their transformation. So when we speak about transformation, we're speaking about the full transform of behaviors, not necessarily changing their behavior. Everyone can change their behavior, but transforming, that's the key for us. Um, both curriculums are character development. And additionally, we address specific topics like substance abuse, teen pregnancy, family violence, gang violence, and also school failure. So those are some of the topics that we speak of. Um, Again, Joven Noble and Girasol also touches on 4 core factors, which is conocimiento, which is acknowledgement in English, entendimiento, which is understanding, integración, which is integration, and movimiento, which is movement. Now, each lesson that we deliver uses a combination of activities and teaching experiences relating to the youth person, family, and commitment. Now, again, each lesson we implement the 4 core values. A quick example, I know we have like 4 minutes left, but a quick example will be that when we look at one of the lessons of palabra is what is palabra? That's acknowledging what it is, right? The second will be understanding. You have to understand what palabra is before you can even move. Movimiento is once you know what it is, you start utilizing it. And integración, which is integration, now you have developed this way of transformation now. So that's how we utilize every single part of the lessons. Now, each lesson, well, for Joven Noble, there's 13 lessons. And for Girasol is 13. I'm sorry, Joven Noble 12, Girasol 13, and it's usually about from an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the participation of the students. Now, the mentoring outcomes are establishing meaningful relationships, connections to community resources, reduce negative behaviors at school and community, and outcomes for Joven Noble and Girasol are reducing substance abuse, improve relationships, and improve self-worth. So that's what Joven Noble and Girasol is.
Thank you, Cesar. So I think we've used up our time. Here are email addresses if you're interested in knowing more about our SEL programs in Lompoc Unified or about Communify and their work with Joven Noble. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. That was fantastic. Whichever way you like. We could dance too. Love your purple. Thank you. Thank you so much, Team Lompoc. We realize how important SEL is, and you've really answered why it is so important in your school district. We saw what the numbers revealed. We learned about your multi-tiered approach, which includes the school community and families. We've learned how important that is today. We see your commitment to wellness in the district, and you're doing such important work. We celebrate that work, and we really thank you again.